Okay, we are live. Welcome on this adult beverage Thursday. I didn't have any adult beverages, but it is Thursday and it's time for the live stream. Thank you very much for watching. I apologize in advance here. There's a problem with the broadcast and I'm unable to broadcast to Rumble. So for those who were expecting me to show up on Rumble, I had to delete it. The replay will show up on Rumble after the broadcast, but during the broadcast I cannot live stream it. There's a technical difficulty with the application that handles the restreaming. It's called restream.io. They are down and I cannot broadcast to it. So, and there's a thing there that says that the servers are intermittently available. So anyway, sorry about that. So if you're on Rumble, you will find the replay later on, but not the live. So apologize for that, and hope you come into YouTube for now and chat with us here. Now, again, briefly, the format is 30 minutes of me talking about the stated topic, and then we're going to deviate that 30 minutes, and we can talk about anything you want based on your comments. So I'll be watching your comments. This time I'm only watching YouTube comments, and then you can say whatever you want, and then we shall see. I will of course pay extra attention to comments made by members. So if you're a member on YouTube, I will make sure to prioritize, and I hope the moderators will also remind me to prioritize the questions of the members. And thank you for supporting the channel here on YouTube membership, and for $5 a month, that's really, really appreciated. It's not a lot of money, but it's helpful, and I appreciate it. So the topic tonight is about PayPal and the strange things about PayPal. But before I get into that, let me just make a brief announcement so that the people who are coming later don't have to wait for it. The Brax 2 Privacy Phone USA version is now available. This is the one with Band 466, which works with Verizon, and we are still flashing the IMEI so that there's no rejection from any carrier. So there's no issue at all. And Brax 2 USA has been popping off the shelves all of a sudden. I just didn't expect that since we have the old version. And so yes, so that's available today, and it's on Brax Me. So if you want to, if you've been waiting for that, that's you can now get to that. Okay, now to the topic at hand, and some of you are going to comment. I just see it. He's going to say this guy is so disorganized and he rambles and all that. This is a Zucking live stream. When it's a live stream, I'm reacting to the moment. I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't have a script. So we're just going to talk about what we're going to talk about, and thoughts come into my head and I go to a different topic, and it's fine. That's the way it is. That's how live streams are. It's completely uncontrolled. That's part of the fun too, because we don't know. You don't know what I'm going to say, because it depends. It depends on the moment. So the strange thing is about PayPal. Now, this didn't really happen. They got caught. So they basically came up with some excuse to back out of it, which is very disingenuous because I don't believe it at all. So what happened was that PayPal put out a policy, a stated policy on their user guidelines that says if you disseminate disinformation, that PayPal will fine you. PayPal will fine you $2,500. PayPal will fine you $2,500. Now, I don't know on what authority they have to even have thought of this. I mean, obviously they're not doing this anymore, but to even have thought of the fact that they will just pull money from your bank account unrelated to any PayPal transaction. They're just going to say, hey, you linked your bank account to PayPal, and because of that, we're going to zuck you. We're going to zuck you. We control you. We're linked to your bank account. We're going to do an ACH and just take money out at will. kind of like Amazon. I remember when I started selling the phone on Amazon, and if there's a return and my balance is not up to the reserve, they just pull money out of your account without warning. So not an issue in that case, but it's just interesting how they can do that and without your permission just withdraw money. So I imagine a small business with tight on funds, and they just do a withdrawal and then they cause everything to to checks to bounce and so on. Pulling $2,500 just out of the blue because they decide, and this is really the crazy part about it, is that they decide. This is according to this policy they never put into place, that they decide what is considered disinformation. Now, this is big tech here. This is big tech. So you're actually expecting me to believe that big tech can, in a balanced way, decide what disinformation is. Okay, this has been going on for a while. There's actually there was a attempt at this where a bunch of journalists decided to form this organization. I have a video about it from several years ago. It didn't go anywhere, fortunately. But the basic idea was that they were going to form an extension on your browser. You pop their extension, and they're going to go mark as certain content that they see on the internet with a little flag that says this is disinformation, decided by this group of journalists, all members of mainstream media. And you know where that's going to lead, because unfortunately, mainstream media has a bias. It's not. It's not evenly distributed. If it were evenly distributed, it would be quite fair, and I would believe this. But unfortunately, it's not been the case. I don't know why. It's like certain people gravitate towards jobs in big techs, and they're all of one political belief, and the same with journalists. It's all one group. And this is actually an interesting finding, because when I started my company Brax Me here, the platform, before I started doing YouTube, I was running the Brax Me platform, and we were selling to corporate clients, and my office was actually in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So I had an office in Michigan and an office in California, and you can just see the difference in culture between California and Michigan. Now, Michigan, the Michigan office was in Ann Arbor, which is, in a university town. So it would probably be, you would think it would be the same, but actually it wasn't. The whole sentiment was different from being in California versus being in Michigan. So I don't know what it is, but there's a gravitation towards certain kinds of beliefs depending on where you are. Obviously, if you're in Michigan, you're not too fond of electric cars, because that's where the gasoline cars come from in Michigan. Just to give you an example. So there's no problem with having different beliefs. It's just interesting. It's interesting because big tech is all centered here in California, and there's a certain purity in their thought process. It's like everyone thinks the same way. Like I said, it must be like an employment requirement. You go apply for employment, and they ask you a political question, and if you don't respond right, you don't get hired. So anyway, I deviated, but the main thought is that PayPal, connected to your bank account, would have been able to decide for themselves, kind of like YouTube. They just decide to cut out your channel. They'll just decide to demonetize you, close your account, whatever. Yeah, there's no appeal, nothing. You're just gone. So same thing with PayPal. Now PayPal has done this to certain institutions and platforms. For example, they did this to Gab. Now Gab is a platform. It's not a belief system. It's a platform. So people, they're crazies on Gab, obviously. So they're crazier than Gab, but then they punished the platform and said, we're going to ban you and not allow you to use PayPal. We're also not going to allow you to use Stripe. We're not going to allow you to use MasterCard, Visa. And this kind of craziness is just bugs the hell out of me because it's like total sucking control of the internet flow of information. Total control. In case you didn't know, Google controls DNS. Google controls something called safety net. They could actually just, without doing anything else, just block the sucking domain. Let's say your domain is Gab. I think the original domain was gab.io, I think. Trying to remember. Somebody can correct me if it's wrong, but I think that was the original domain. And all they had to do was block the DNS, and then you wouldn't be able to pull out Gab on anything that connects to Google DNS. And here's the funny thing. Google DNS, Google Safety Net, Apple's iCloud Private Relay, all centralized DNS. They can actually control what you see on your device. They can just say, not only are we going to, censor you, but we're actually just going to take out your sucking domain completely. We're not even just going to take you out of the app stores or Google Play Store. We're going to go beyond that. We're going to block your domain. And here's the thing that's very interesting. If you have an iPhone, you are tied to iCloud Public Private Relay. They control DNS. This is actually pretty sneaky of Apple. It's not. You think it's about providing you with protection in your IP address. What they've actually done is centralize DNS, centralize your traffic so they can monitor it. And then Google has done the same with private DNS. They can control that too. So here we have basically big tech saying we can shut anyone down. We can shut anyone down. And they've proven they can do this, but the power, they haven't demonstrated their full power yet. You actually haven't seen the full power. You've just seen part of it. And this is what I'm describing to you is they actually have knobs they can twist and say, "Zuck you, we're going to take you out." Okay, for example, Google Safety Net. Now, what is Google Safety Net? This is promoted as a way to stop malware. So, for example, you have a phishing site. So somebody is doing phishing on a fake domain, and Google said, we found that it's a phishing site, and they're faking you out, and it's not bankofamerica.com, it's bankmerica.com, just one letter to confuse you, and or maybe Bank for America, which looks like America. Okay, so they blocked that domain. Okay, that's fine. That's really what safety net is for. That's what it's designed to do. So, but it actually does two things. A, they can actually block the domain because that filtering as part of safety net is built into Google Android, built into Zucking Chrome. And other parties are using it as well. I mean, Apple may be using it. And so basically they can block a URL from any browser. And I'm talking a URL, not just a domain, but specific URLs. And they fucking control this. And you have no choice because you're going to be a normie user. You don't know anything. And you don't know how to manipulate DNS. So you don't have your own DNS. You're using this defaults. The default now on Android, if you don't do anything, the default on Android is Google private DNS. It's not private. It's just Google. Meaning yes, it's supposed to be encrypted with HTTPS. Yeah, right. But what they're actually doing is saying, we're going to centralize the DNS, we control it. So here we are, being able to control us completely via these restrictive channels. And again, PayPal's going to do it financially. Was going to do it financially. They've done it before. It's nothing new. Stripe and all of these companies. And it's going to get worse because they're going to be able to squeeze it financially using something called CBDC. Okay, digital dollars, which is coming. The very important video that hardly anybody watched that video. It's extremely important. Google didn't promote it, and maybe they consider it Sometimes YouTube doesn't promote a video. Maybe it's on the topic list of, conspiracy theory topics. This is not a conspiracy theory topic. It's a sign of where CBDC is going to be instituted in some app. This is how it was done in China. CBDC was implemented in some app, and the app in China was called WeChat. And because I doubt in the USA they'll do it like that, but they probably come up with a centralized API, application programming interface, where all apps use the same thing, and then you just call the app, and you can bring up, kind of like PayPal. You bring it up, and it probably will be done by somebody like a PayPal, because that's exactly how digital currencies are going to be implemented with the help of private enterprise. Government isn't going to design something new. They're going to use something in existence. See, the problem is then you now tie yourself to some of this, and the platform controls the rest of it. Somebody could actually hold your money. Just like in China, if you fight the government and you do something that the government doesn't like, they just shut down your zucking WeChat. You shut you down on WeChat, and you don't have access to your money, because in China the only way to get money is through WeChat, digital dollars, and the majority of transactions in China now is with digital dollars. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about, the funneling of control. Just so YouTube. PayPal reminds us. PayPal reminds us that this can be done. They can centralize their power, and they can manipulate us in this way. And they can do it financially, in ideas. They can shut down DNS. They can shut down URLs. And this is some pretty hardcore stuff. I mean, this goes beyond what they've done before, where they just said, okay, we'll shut down your app. And somebody says, well, that's not really true, that they control freedom of speech, because you can still access them from browser. For example, like an InfoWars, you could access it through a browser. So in theory, the app is not there, but you can use your browser to go to their website. In theory, that's not going to be possible anymore. They can shut you down at the browser too. It's going to be complete shutdown. Shut you down at DNS, shut you down at the browser level. Now, here's the other thing that they can do at the browser level, okay? And Google has already proven they can do this. They can shut down the HTTPS sucking certificate. Okay, as you know, they got into a problem with the old Symantec. So Symantec was lying. They were creating fake certificates. They were creating fake Google certificates, using it for the purpose of intercepting traffic illegally, so they can surveil, because their division called Blue Coat Systems, which is now in Broadcom. The Blue Coat Systems, I don't know if it's called Blue Coat Systems anymore, but that division was selling the capability to countries, like Saudi Arabia, to be able to spy on whatever you're doing, even if you're using HTTPS. They can intercept your traffic and see what website you're seeing. You're seeing exactly what content's coming out of there, and HTTPS will mean nothing because they faked the certificate. Okay, so this is something that you should understand, that even HTTPS is not all that safe if somebody has control, like a big tech company has control of the zucking root certificates, in which case this was controlled by VeriSign, a division of Symantec at the time. Okay, so this is a very dangerous thing. Now, what happened here is then the traffic from the Blue Coat Systems would intercept a Google.com transaction, and even if it's money related, they can actually see all the traffic because they can break the encryption. This is something also that's possible with iCloud private relay. Private relay. So iCloud private relay basically funnels all your traffic through Apple. And this is on your Apple device. And secretly, they can just change the zucking root certificate on your device, authorize it a certain way, and they have the private key, so they can basically decrypt anything that goes through their system. And by the way, iCloud private relay is not encrypted anyway. So they can see your DNS traffic and all that very, very clearly. They can see the URLs. They can see all that. Okay? So, and with all this ability to see, they have sucking control. And this is how stupid people are. They just don't understand the power we're giving these big tech companies, where they can shut you down in an instant. And you don't understand that technology. You just take the fucking phone, bring it home, it's normie phone. My next video, I'm so angry with somebody, just which I'll discuss in my next video. But Louis Rossmann was playing a video of some guy on YouTube saying that those who want the Google phones are feeling some paranoia and self-importance. They feel they're so important that they're going to be spied on, so they're going to protect themselves with the Google phones. And he said, he will rail against the idea of using Google phones. Who needs that? You don't need that. So yeah, so just telling you that's the next video, because that got me so upset, because this guy is on YouTube. Not Louis. Louis is a good guy. This is some other YouTuber that he was referring to. So Louis Rossmann is understands privacy in an intuitive way. He just he says, I see all this data collected, and I just don't think that Google needs to know that. He doesn't need to articulate it in so many ways, but by instinct he understands that Google doesn't need to know my life. There's no reason to have to do that. And yet, this kind of guy says, that guys like me is all about paranoia. It just made me just made me so angry. So anyway, thank you to Louis Rossmann for bringing that up. It's maybe we're giving too much focus on this guy that should actually disappear from YouTube, but still, Louis Rossmann has a very big channel. He has like 1.75 million subscribers. So, the mere fact that he talked about it, gets the privacy issue out there, and I appreciate it. I really do. He's on the right side of the issue. He's not techie in the same way that we the same way that I am, but he has some instinctual response that are very positive and shows that he cares. And he's even brought up issues the same with Apple. Apple controls certain things and can control certain domains in other ways too. There's some of the things he talked about where they can actually again do something like safety net, where they can filter out domains on the Apple side. So this is the kind of control that we do not understand. This is the kind of control we do not understand, that, we're just letting them do it. We're just saying, oh, it's, I have nothing to hide anyway, so I have nothing to fear. This is not a concern. And the switches are there. So instantaneously, when the moment comes, like, remember the Hunter Biden case? Days before the election, they decide, we're going to shut down the Hunter Biden discussion. Now that it's, now that he's in, Biden is in office, now, they can safely release that because it's too late to do anything now. So that's fine. Release the information way after the election so that it doesn't affect anything anymore. Time it. Time the release of information. Time the curtailing of information. And you don't think that's part of the formula. Withholding certain topics and saying, oh, that's not true. That's not true. So on many, many topics, if you actually look back in time, even back to the days of Bush Bush 2. Bush 1? Who was doing WMD? Yeah, Bush 2. Okay? So Bush 2 was like saying, oh, WMD, we got to invade Iraq. And everyone believed it. I believed it because, all the press, that's all they talked about. So the majority of people believed it because there was such control of information. Because here's the thing, the intelligence community states that there's WMD in Iraq. Now, who's going to challenge the intelligence community? Because we have no data. We have no data to say, yeah, we should challenge the intelligence community. Their information is wrong. Because if you challenge it, then the intelligence community will say, hey, you have no access, so you don't know. We know it's correct. Now, a long time later, what, 20 some years later, we look back and say, geez, there was nothing. They didn't really have any information. I mean, that's crazy that we limit information flow. But the fact of the matter is, in the heat of the moment, we don't know. We don't know, especially when you do it on the cover of in the intelligence community. We don't know. Same with vaccines. We don't know. We don't know at the time. We haven't tried it yet. And people are talking about, these vaccines are perfect. They will do X, Y, and Z. But we don't know. So why are you curtailing discussion when you don't know? Are you so afraid of the discussion? Are you so afraid that it's gonna cut down your argument if it's true? If it's true, it's true. If it's false, it's false. But to artificially control what people say and then label it as disinformation. So it's now a good question. Is Hunter Biden disinformation or not? Is it? Why is it in the news today? Why is it no longer being denied today? Wow, I mean, come on. All we ask is that these be given airtime and nobody mess with it like big tech does, because they want to control the result. It should be obvious to you that the result was to control the election. Curtail information, amplify the voice, restrain a voice, do whatever you want in order to control the election. And by the way, you think that, big tech is on the left. Don't be too sure about that. Big tech is for big tech. They do things because it benefits them. They're doing these things because it benefits them. Don't assume that they're doing it because, they're on the left. In fact, the definition of what is left is no longer clear. Many people on the left are not recognizing what left is anymore. So, yeah, it's basically the voice has been amplified to redefine what certain political views are. And for example, being right is now being an extremist. Being left is now being woke. It's a completely different description than back during Reagan's time. Back then it was more basic explanation and was more predictable, and it's not true anymore. And I don't know if that's organic or was that controlled, was that contrived? I don't know. I couldn't tell you, because that's the problem, is we have no data to see if somebody actually contrived this in behavioral modeling. Behavioral modeling. You think these people are dumb. If they have access to your data, they can do behavioral modeling. They can actually predict what you're going to do, predict how you're going to react. With behavioral modeling, they can actually do target groups and testing and focus groups, and they can test it in unlimitless ways and see what the reaction of the group is. And statistically say, oh, okay, this will cause some certain reactions, so let's try it out. Crazy stuff that's available to them because they have all this information that they can sucking control. So the PayPal event is a warning sign. It's a thought process. Yeah, they got caught, so they say, "Oh, we didn't really mean that. That wasn't intent." Yeah, right. You don't make a policy that you don't have that you just post on Zucking PayPal without tons of lawyers looking at it and making sure that everybody buys into it and say, "Oh, it was an accident. We didn't mean to put it on the user policy. We didn't intend that." Come on, come on. You expect me to believe this was a mistake? No, what happened was they got caught. Their hands were in the cookie jar. They got caught and they said, "Okay, our stock is dropping. Our stock is dropping. We better react." Because PayPal stock is way down and now they're down even more from doing this. And, "Oh, our stock is dropping. Well, let's pull it back. Let's come up with some excuse." And we're going to all believe it and say, "Oh, yeah, right. They're right. They didn't really mean it." Okay, I'm out of time, so I'm going to cut down or shut down this topic, and we're going to go into the Q&A section in a second. But let me just talk about my sponsor, my only sponsor. I've been doing this for a while, and I don't remember how many sponsors I've had. I think I've had 3 sponsors that I've accepted in the last few years that I've done YouTube, and some of them I've only taken for very short periods, and then I don't want them anymore. And one that I really have enjoyed having as a sponsor is Linode. Linode is now Akamai. In fact, we had to redo our contracts because everything is now called Akamai. And Linode is actually using the Akamai's resources to expand. So Linode is expanding. They're actually doubling their data centers. They're going to have double the number of data centers in the next year, within the next year. And this is really exciting because I'm already appreciating what I've been able to get from Linode, because Linode is just so much cheaper than, so much cheaper. I have a few servers running on Amazon, and I believe I pay that amount equivalent to all of my servers to Linode, and I have many. I think I have 10 times more servers at Linode, and I'm paying 10 times less at Linode, which is crazy. So if you want a server company that does Linux servers, so you can run websites, domains, and whatever you need to do for running something in the cloud. If you have a business, if you have WordPress, if you want to run some other kind of server like Jitsi server for communications, an XMPP server, wow, this is a great option. If you go to linode.com and say linode.com/RobBraxman, they will give you a $200 credit, which you can spend within 2 months. So you can actually get a server for as little as $5 a month with no extra cost, compared to Amazon, which says, "We'll charge you $5 a month." And then when you look at the bill, it's $30 a month. So wait a minute, what happened there? That's a pretty big jump, because they charge you extra for everything else. Linode doesn't charge you extra for bandwidth. They don't charge you extra. It's all built in. Pretty good deal. So anyway, that is Linode. Okay. So what I've just talked about, as I said, is extemporaneous. I don't have a script. I just talked as I felt at the moment. And some of you are gonna say, "Oh, he rambles. Stick to the topic. Don't change whatever." Yeah, right. Okay. I have the more organized videos where I actually prepare what I'm gonna say in the videos. So yeah, I have those short videos. And don't be scared what a live stream. Live stream, of course, is an hour and a half, but the last hour is Q&A. And you never have to stay beyond the 30 minutes if you don't want to. So a lot to be learned in the last 30 minutes, because I react to comments that I probably would never see otherwise. So it gives me gives me a way to get what you feel, because in a live stream you're able to talk to me directly and I can understand what you feel. So, by the way, like I said, I want to prioritize the members. If the members have any questions, they will get my attention ahead of everyone else. So if I see a member question, I will take that question first. So okay, Frank likes my rants, but some people are saying don't rant. But the thing is, if you're passionate about what you're talking about, then people like that better. So I'm not going to change my ways. I rant all the time. My rants were famous when I was doing it on Periscope. Not sure if you mentioned this before, but would you be releasing a Brax OS ROM at some point? You mean what do you mean releasing? Releasing it for public use? I'm going to talk to you briefly about that. Thank you, Frank's Beans. Let me just talk to you about that. Oh dear plays. The Brax OS is built from another OS, and it's it's kind of the base OS. The base OS is open source, or is being prepared to be open source, and I'll give you the name of the OS so that it's not yet finalized, but might as well just give you a clue. But the main organization of the OS is going to be called Lunar OS. So the Lunar OS is the basis of Brax OS. So Brax OS is a fork of Lunar OS. At least that's the way it's being organized now. So this is being organized as we speak. So Lunar OS will be public and open source. It'll be community driven, and it will be kind of like any of the other OSs that you're aware of. The Calyx and the Lineage and so on, and it will be like that. And Brax OS will be a specific modification of that, with the primary stuff existing in Lunar OS, but just some minor tweaks like the interface, the UI, the icons, all that is where the difference will be. But the main operation will be the same as Lunar OS. So this is not yet ready. So this is part of the delay in doing all this. So because it takes a lot of planning to do something like take a product that's constantly in motion. The Brax OS has gone through several Android versions already, and you can't like open source all that and then take it back and say, oh, we're going to open source it again with a new one. So it's going to be time consuming if we keep repeating it over and over. So yes, that's a Brax OS will be open source, but based also on the open source of Lunar OS, and presumably then by the time it's done, you can compile Lunar OS, and if you know what you're doing, you could modify it to port it to a different device if you have that kind of expertise. But in my case, it will be specifically, I'll be specifically focused on the Brax OS fork. So okay, so that's just the plan here. So that's I'll give you more specifics as this comes along, and I kind of give you an advance notice here of this, and in the interest of transparency, because people have been asking me this for a while, and I'm careful to limit what I say about this, because I don't want to overspeak, because the Lunar OS organization has different people in it, different advisors. I am one of the advisors, the technical advisors to Lunar OS, which is then a fork of Brax OS. So there's some prominent people that also are technical advisors to Lunar OS, and so that's the basis of Brax OS. So anyway, if you think Brax OS is just going to be like some homegrown whatever. No, it's not. There's actually there's a lot of expertise built into it, which is actually the same depth as you would find in some of the other OSs. They actually all come from some of these communities are actually connected. They work together. So some of these people, they know each other. So the people who've done certain other operating systems that I don't need to mention, but they're all connected. So they know each other by name. So just so you know that this is not some flash in the pan kind of thing where we just come up with this out of the blue. So no. So there's some long-term planning here. The Brax 2 USA is released now. If you get a Brax 2 USA, it comes with the latest Brax OS version. That Brax OS version will be released to all of the other devices next week. Okay, so it solves some of the few bugs that we know of from the last couple of versions, and it runs very well for me. It's so far, and there are little issues still here and there, but at least it has a stable base that we can work from. Okay, so any Google privacy hygiene advice for game consoles? I don't know. I wouldn't worry about game consoles so much. Okay. Some people, I guess, it's a funny thing with game consoles. I don't consider game consoles as necessarily a source of privacy concerns because it's you're not supplying it much data. It's not there to take your data as much. However, criminals have used gaming consoles to have conversations. Like drug dealers actually do that. They go do gaming and they're talking about drug deals in the background. So a lot of law enforcement, they actually listen into some of those conversations. So can you do Jay says, can you do a video on linked local mode setup? Yeah, but it's different for every single fucking router. So you go to your router setup. If you search there will be an option for link local mode, tunnel mode, and IPv6 node mode. Okay, so it's already there. So for example, I have a Apple Express Airport Express Apple, and even with that old device, IPv6 has the option right there in the advanced section on IPv6. Go in there and you'll see link local mode option. So I've turned my devices here into link local mode. Somebody made a comment in my last video that says link local mode disconnects you from the internet. So link local mode just gives you a local IP address, doesn't give you access to the internet. Not true. As I said, link local mode will act as NAT, N-A-T. It will act as NAT. So my address is not visible to the internet, but I can access the internet because the router has an external IPv6 and an internal IPv6 that starts with FE80. It will route it. So I don't have any problem accessing the internet in link local mode. So I just turn my routers to link local mode, and from that point, that router will not show the IPv6 address publicly of my devices. It will stop at that router. And as I'm suggesting, if the ISP's router were set to link local mode, then the ISP's router also will not reveal the IP addresses to the internet, and as they're doing now with IPv4. So let me just talk to you about my Starlink. I have Starlink and I'm testing. Okay, so my Starlink is running in IPv6. The internet is running in IPv4. So what happens is when I go use Starlink and I go to some website, in fact, I have a test of IP addresses and I can go run it. and I can see what my IP address is. For example, you can go to brax.me/geo. It does location checks and IP address checks, and it will tell you that your Starlink IP address is IPv4, and it will give you an IP address, which changes, by the way. It's not constant. But IPv6 is internal only to Starlink. So Starlink itself does not publicly route the IP because you can't. IPv6 is not used on the internet yet. It's only used for internal networks. So while that's going on, we're in pretty good mode here, because like the same with the phones, IPv6 on the phone doesn't get routed to the internet. So none of you on a phone or on Starlink will have a IP address that matters to the third party. Google and YouTube and Facebook and everyone else can track all your IP address all you want. It's not going to matter because they're only seeing the router of Starlink or the router of T-Mobile, for example. They're seeing the gateway router, the router that gateways from IPv6 to IPv4. Sorry. From IPv6 to IPv4. So thousands and thousands of you, maybe hundreds of thousands of you, are being routed to those servers. So thousands of you will have the same IP address because you're sharing a gateway IPv4 router. So then you don't really have a concern with that. So that's actually the positive news that I was talking about with IPv6, is you can't really be spotted. Now, I know it's very technical, but the real issue is that we do not need to, currently today, we do not have to worry about the IPv6 in your phone or on Starlink, those two areas. We do have to worry about IPv6 on your home router, because those are attached to a fixed IPv4 address at the moment. They're IPv6 and IPv4. So that can, the carrier can, and it's fixed. It's a fixed address. So because it's fixed, it will always reference the same device. So it's something to be concerned about. Tofurky didn't know Braxman streamed. I've been streaming, live streaming since, 9 years ago now? Yeah, I started streaming long ago. And in fact, that's all I did. At the beginning, I was on Periscope, which was Twitter, and I was streaming, live streaming every single day. I was streaming every day. That's called dual stack. Yep, you can certainly call it that. Folks here are noticing the YouTube subscription missing button to join. I told you about. Folks here are noticing the YouTube subscription missing button to join. Why would it be missing? I don't really control that. I mean, YouTube activates that. Do they restrict it? I've had new members join. You won't see it, Great Gold, because you're already a member. Every day back then. Yes, Francis Shirley. Yeah, so I was broadcasting every day back then, and topics are similar, but it was more reaction to what people said. What do you think about the new Pixel 7? I don't have a new Pixel 7, so I can't tell you much about how I would react to it. Starlink not available to you. Well, I thought Starlink was not going to be available to me. And they said, it's going to be a long wait. It's going to be sometime in 2023 before you can get Starlink. And then all of a sudden, they just said, it's available. It's like so fast. And will you skip your place in queue, or do you want it? Okay, I want it. So now I'm paying extra internet. I have 2 internets now in my house. Thank you, James Lynch, for joining the membership. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let's see. The join button is there. Yeah, it won't be there if you already joined. That's probably what you're talking about. I really appreciate it. It's $5 a month, and it's not a lot of money for you guys, and it's in a way it's symbolic, but it's so appreciated. This channel doesn't get much money from advertising. Quick question: with Signal getting rid of SMS support, is there something you'd support as a replacement SMS E2EE app? I did not know Signal is getting rid of SMS support. I mean, that's part of the reason that Signal is so easy to use, is because you can use the same interface for doing both SMS and Signal. So that's not good. I don't really know anything about that. Obviously, then you're forced to use a separate SMS app. Our phone comes with its own SMS app and Signal. So now you have to switch to both. That's kind of messy, but that's unfortunate. I don't like to hear that. So I mean, if that ever happened, then it kind of removes the appeal of Signal, because that was the appeal of Signal. So I may have to rethink, if Signal should even be used, because that was the appeal of Signal. My family used it. They don't distinguish between texting and non-texting, so they tended to use Signal for everything because it's their messaging app. And if you're already sorry, the signal dropped there. So if they're already on Signal, there was no extra effort to use the encrypted part of it. So if you're looking for something as an alternative to Signal, the one that I've really liked as a multi-platform tool that seems to be consistent on all platforms is Session. Now I reviewed Session long ago, a couple of years ago, and I had positive things to say, and now Session now works on all platforms, and they don't use any phone number. So I might test it some more and do a video in modern times here to see what I think of Session. But from what I know about it already, I was already very pleased with Session at the beginning. And XMPP is often used in conjunction with Jitsi. So XMPP is in fact, it can use XMPP signaling. So combining Jitsi and XMPP, and you basically have audio, video, and texting and attachments, depending on who your XMPP service is. I offer an XMPP service for free. However, I do not store your attachments because that would be too expensive for me. So I don't handle that side of it. You can go use some paid XMPP, like Conversations has one, and it's minimal a year. But for straight messaging, I offer it for free. If you can try it out with end-to-end encryption, and if you want to graduate to doing attachments and so on, then you can choose to go to a paid service, and then you can have attachments and have them stored. XMPP is look, if you're in the corporate world, let's say you have a business and you want to communicate with your employees. Do you really want to communicate with your employees using texting or email? The best way to communicate among a population of business people that are in the same office is to use XMPP. And if you're already a company like that, I mean, you can afford to put up your own server. It doesn't cost much. Okay, you set up your own XMPP server with all the amenities. Very simple to do. You put it on Linode. Doesn't even cost much. Put all the features you want, and it's going to be for internal use. And then sign the people on it and do attachments, whatever, and enable end-to-end encryption. Otherwise, if you're doing something else, somebody in your office is reading your traffic. Think about things like this. The top executives are talking about cutting down staff. So we're going to reduce our staff 10%, and they how do you communicate that among yourselves to decide if this is going to be the case? Let's say they said, give me a report of who you're going to eliminate from your staff, and I want to eliminate 10%. Let's say the CEO says. So how do they do this communication? By email? Doesn't make any sense. Because somebody in tech will see that, will intercept it and say, oh, they're going to fire such and such. And then, the employees hear about it and they start stealing stuff ahead of time because I'm going to be fired. I'm going to steal stuff. Crazy approach, that in today's world, don't do that. There's XMPP is the best used in the corporate world. Okay, yeah, you can use session 2, but it's it's less convenient because the nice thing about XMPP is all you need is a XMPP address, which actually looks like an email address. Actually, you can run it even on Thunderbird. So yeah, it looks like an email address, and it's very user friendly in the sense that it emulates email, at least in appearance. And yet you can do end-to-end encryption. If you're in a medical facility where you're restricted from communicating in a certain way, XMPP would have solved all the problems of having end-to-end encryption and HIPAA and all that. XMPP. So I recommend that. So those are my 2 recommendations. XMPP is kind of a more general approach. And the nice thing about that is there's a different app on every platform. In fact, sometimes a selection of apps. And they all use XMPP as a protocol. So the client can be something else. Depending on your application, on your platform, there could be a different application. And they all support the XMPP protocol. In fact, WhatsApp originally was XMPP based until they took the XMPP, modified it slightly, and now WhatsApp is using XMPP communications in a kind of a privatized version of it. But it's really basically, WhatsApp is basically XMPP. Messenger is XMPP. Yahoo Instant Message was also XMPP. XMPP is more popular than you imagine. Okay, so yeah, so that's recommended. Now, Session is a bit more powerful, more secure, and consistent because they work on all the platforms. So you can even run it on a browser. So Session has that for it. However, it's not as easy to identify yourself on Session because it's not like passing an email address. Okay, so those are, yeah. XMPP works well for comps with normies. I don't know, Frank. It's certainly easy enough to use, but you may have to help them install it. Yeah, but it's it's not difficult to use. It's just like any other communications messaging platform. I'm killing PayPal. Sorry, another way would be appreciated. I'm not telling you to kill PayPal. I do my business primarily through PayPal still. Probably 90% of my business goes through PayPal while I can. And there's some advantages to PayPal. And that is no one has to see your credit card. Passing credit card numbers directly to different websites, assume that website you're putting the credit card information in has some security. And we know that credit card numbers get stolen all the time. By using only one platform, PayPal, then they control that, and the sites that you purchase products from never see your credit card. That's the advantage of PayPal. So, yeah, so in spite of all the issues with big tech and all that, and the fact that they are possibly a source of abuse, the reality is, I don't have an alternative right now because PayPal is still the easiest way for me to handle my small business. So anyway. Okay, so what else? Comments are going very fast here. I'm sure I missed something important. Isn't selling a fake item also considered disinformation? That's their plausible deniability right there. Yeah, but that's specific. If you're going against terms of use, like committing fraud with products that relate to the payment, because they pay, if a user pays for a product and you're fraudulent and not give them a product, then obviously they deserve to take that money back. That's fair. But the issue is that without any connection to any transaction, they're saying we thought about taking $2,500 of your money, even if it's not connected to any transaction. We're just going to take it. Let's say you had no transactions. Oh, we're just going to pull out $2,500 from your bank account because we deem that you spread disinformation. So just think about this. If this would have been, in a 2016 election, if let's say I'm on the channel here and I mentioned Hunter Biden, so in theory, PayPal will say, "Hey, you're spreading disinformation because you talked about Hunter Biden, so we're gonna knock you out and charge you $2,500 and then close down your PayPal account." On what basis? You see, they get to decide that. Crazy. Like there's no way to legally challenge. There's no way to challenge anything. So I don't know why people, accept this, that big tech has a right to dictate. Oh, it's a private company. They can do anything. Oh, I've heard this before. Okay, guys, YouTube wants me to give you an ad. So here, I'll pop an ad. There you go. Okay, let me tell you, something specific here. So YouTube, and I forgot what I was talking about because the ad popped up. What was I talking about? Oh gosh. I got messed up. The ad message came up, and I had something important to talk about, and I lost my train of thought. So anyway, the platforms are let me read your comments so I get reminded of what was that I was talking about, because it was important. Dictating. China social private company. Oh, private companies are supposed to have every right to censor you because, hey, they're private. Freedom of speech doesn't apply to a private company. It applies to, government. A private company can shut down any sort of discussion. And the argument was, let's say they close down your App Store app. We're not shutting down freedom of speech because you don't have to be on the App Store. Of course, Google and Apple decide that, Gab, for example, was taken out of both Apple Store and Google Play, which pretty much means, let me just translate that for you in English, that Gab was stopped from having a mobile app. 100% shut down. Couldn't have a mobile app. And then the argument was, you can still go on a browser. Now, we're going to cut off the payment. So we're going to cut you off from PayPal and Stripe and MasterCard Visa and American Express, so you can't collect any kind of money. Okay. So we're going to cut you off all those sites. But we're private companies. We're working individually. PayPal's not connected with Facebook. Facebook is not connected with Google. Google's not connected with Apple. Apple's not connected with Microsoft. And we're going to just stop you on all these platforms because we all agree that we need to stop you because you're doing disinformation to Gab. Okay. Now, the thing is, as I explained to you, big tech can control DNS, can control safety net, iCloud private relay, and all this. They could actually shut down information 100%. Now, I don't know what the excuse is for saying that private companies have a right to shut down communications about anything 100%, where there is no alternative. Therefore, there is no freedom of speech if they have this capability, and yet they are not liable for this. Oh, they're private companies. They can do that. Now, the people who are on one political side saying that, I wonder if the topic changed, and the topic is affecting their point of view. They will believe the exact opposite. People are very disingenuous when it comes to topics like this, because if it happens to match your political views, you support something, and if it doesn't happen to match your political views, you say, "Oh yeah, we should block them, censor them, whatever. They're bad news." So, they're bad news. So one of the things that I talked to you about, I'm going to be repeating this in my next video, but I'll tell you a little bit about it, is that some people say, well, no, I told a story that Google actually identifies certain groups of people with certain beliefs and puts them on a map and manipulates the search results, and does this in partnership with this company in the UK. Okay, so we're not going to go into detail because they're going to demonetize me if I talk about it. The point is that they can categorize certain groups and say, okay, you're some of the groups that they have were QAnon, incels, anti-vax, anti-Hillary, white supremacists. There's a bunch of those in that category. Okay, and of course the people will say, because hey, those are bad guys, so it's good that they're censored. It's very good that they're censored. So Google's doing the right thing. But you're not understanding that you just gave somebody the capability to do all this. Okay? Now, you'd think Google is the only one doing this. But there's another company. And the other company in this case is Palantir. And Palantir is right-wing. Palantir is run by Peter Thiel. Palantir is doing pre-crime. They're doing any number of things that is contributing to a police state. So now you got a force doing the same evil thing on the other side of the spectrum. And you've enabled one. You say, oh, yeah, Google can do that. They're a private company. Oh, yeah. So then, yeah, so Palantir will do that too, but do it to you. So understand, guys, I don't want any of that. None of that is organic. They're manipulation. It's a desire to control, to change results, to use AI to find the pulse of the people and control you through target marketing and all that. And it's being done on both sides. Both sides. So what I'm trying to tell you is I don't want either side. I don't want that kind of power. I don't want either side, whether it be Palantir or Google, to have that kind of power. Somebody asks, oh, Apple doesn't get involved with this. Wrong. Palantir gets its data from somewhere, and it gets its data from government contracts. If Apple has a government contract, which it did, it was part of the Muscular program, where they get access to actual Apple data directly. I'm sure they get, access to iCloud and all that. Okay. Who do you think handles the data that they derive from big tech? Well, it's handled by government contract with Palantir. So Palantir has access to government data, social media data, app data, all this, Prism data, all that, and they use it to manipulate things and do behavioral analysis in Palantir. And we're equipping these kinds of organizations with these kind of capabilities, and then we wonder, oh, I have nothing to hide. Nothing to hide. I don't need to change my phone. I have nothing to hide. They can watch me all they want. Fucking idiots. Watch you all you want. Right. So, okay. So you've ceded the right to have your vote in an election. You've basically ceded it. All the people with nothing to hide will vote the way that they're convinced to vote by one of these two organizations. Obviously, there'll still be a fight because Palantir will convince you to vote one way, and Google, Apple, Facebook will ask you to vote the other way. So yeah, there's still some competition, but it's manipulation, not if it's organic. It depends on who gets their message out. So you forget all this, and you forget things like Cambridge Analytica. That was actually the profiling of people for the election was actually from a Palantir scientist that worked with Cambridge Analytica. Interviewing for a junior software engineer role at PayPal in 2 weeks. Wish me luck. Thank you, Lax Lifters, and your wish you luck at PayPal. I'm not, again, I use PayPal, so I don't like what they're doing, but they're still important currently in the way the financial system works. So since I am not on their target list, then I'm okay at the moment. So how to stop them? Then I explained this many times. You stop them by getting a Google phone. You say, what is the connection? What is the connection? I hate to be repetitive because I'm going to say it again in the next video. That's right, Jesse. Thank you. I hate to be repetitive here, but the idea is that in order for Google, Palantir, and all these organizations to track you, they need two pieces of information: the data, meaning the behavior that they're trying to track on the internet, plus the identity. So in today's world, your phone is the identity. Google tracks you by Google ID, which tracks your phone serial number, attaches to the apps, attaches to all your logins, and therefore they can verify it as you because they have the Google ID and the Google serial number and the serial number of your device. Because of that, it's impossible to hide because you're always logged in all these platforms because you don't know how to do it. And that, for the normal normie, that's the way it goes. It doesn't matter if you have an iPhone, it's the same thing. You got the Apple ID, and also Google operates in the same way inside Apple platform because you are tied to so many Google products. You're running YouTube, you're logged in, you're doing exactly the same thing, and it takes a serial number of the iPhone in just the same exact way, and you're running the same Google apps on the iPhone, so the access is the same. Now, what is different? The difference is when you use the Google phone, you take out the identity because the Google phone does not have a Google ID. So what happens when you don't have a Google ID? Well, obviously they don't know precisely who owns the phone. In fact, it doesn't reveal if you're even in the same phone. If you had 3D Google phones, they couldn't tell which one was which. There's no serial number. The only thing that they can tell is that there's some phone number, and that phone number seems to be consistent, which they don't know that you can move the SIM card around. So because there's no Google ID, there's no actual way to verify that it is you. Because in a normal case scenario, you're on Google on a browser on Chrome, and then they want to verify your location because you're hiding your location in your computer. They can just check the location of the phone and say, oh, we know the location of your phone, therefore you're in this exact city that we're talking about, and we do that. It's called cross-device tracking, and we know it's you. Well, on the Google phone, they don't have access to even location. They don't have access to anything. They don't even know what the phone is. There's no Google ID. You didn't log in anywhere. Yeah, they call you, you answer the phone, and you respond to your text, but they don't know what the phone is. It could be a flip phone for all they know. They don't even know there's an app in there. Okay, because of that, they are very limited in what they can track. They can't actually join things. So whatever you do on the phone is invisible. So whatever I do on the phone is not visible to any party because there's no Google ID. Therefore, if I go use search on a phone, there's no connection between the phone and my search activity because they don't know who to assign the search to. So let's say I was searching Palantir on my phone, the Google phone. I don't have to do anything special. I do a search on the Google phone and nobody knows who's doing the search. Especially if you're doing data. With data, it's using IPv6. It obscures IPv4. They don't even have the right IP address. So what exactly is being revealed when I use the Google phone? Nothing. And you don't have to do anything special. This is the defense. I've been telling you this over and over and people don't get it. All you have to do is use the Google phone and you're done because there's nothing that they can take from it. Some people said, what do I need to do when I do Google phone? What are the extra steps? What are the extra features? What are the things I got to do to not screw it up? Nothing, because there's no Google ID. It's that simple. There's no Apple ID, no Google ID. You're done. It doesn't matter what you do. Advice for those during technical interviews. Probably don't talk about privacy. Act like you're anti-privacy. So anyway, that minor comment I made, you think I'm just talking about the Google phones because I want to sell you one. Well, I don't really care what you buy. You know, if 99% of you use some other Google phone, we're still accomplishing what society needs, and that is for people to have their Google ID and Apple ID fucking disappear. That's what we're trying to do here. Make the identity disappear. And then on your computer, you do logged in and not logged in use. You know, browser isolation was my last video. And you basically, again, they don't have enough information. It's not really that complicated. People said, oh, it's hopeless. You can't do anything anymore. It's hopeless. No, it's not. What's hopeless is that they already have information about you in the past. And that requires work because in order for you to erase what you had in the past, you have to connect to Google and do opposite things. And many of you can't, to you, many of you that is not palatable. You can't even fake your political views because you are so angry that I don't think like that. You know, I can change political views in an instant online. I don't care because politics to me is not even a constant. You're not anti-privacy. I'm saying lax lifters. I'm talking during the interview, act like you're anti-privacy. During the interview, not in real life. You know, it's part of the disinformation campaign. So anyway, I mean, all I'm saying is kind of simple. You know, it's not a complicated concept. I'm just saying I know how to beat it, and the data leak stops. So what does Google know about me? Pretty much only what I want Google to know. So, and I actually, I have several Google accounts, so I actually have many test scenarios, and I actually practice on certain accounts. I do only certain things. On certain accounts, I do other things. Then I watch what happens and see how the algorithm handles that. So, is 2FA not a concern with a Brax phone? Absolutely not. There's nothing that 2FA can do to a Brax phone because there's no Google ID. That's one of the things that 2FA is abused because they force you to use a Google app, which then takes the serial number or IMEI of the phone and uses that to identify you and uses that to verify your identity and your location and everything else. Because as you're using a phone, it has telemetry, it has location tracking 24/7, all of that happens. And if it can confirm that your Google app is running on the same phone with your Google ID, it can then pass that information to the browser. Well, it doesn't happen on the Google phone. There's nothing. There's no Google on it. There's no Google application running in the background. It's a really simple concept. A really simple concept. No data for them to match to. Because the way it works is for them to do what they do to track, they have to have access to the operating system level components and access to system level data like IMEIs, MAC addresses, and all those little serial numbers on the phone. They can't access that unless they're a system app. And on the Google phone, there is no Google system app. None. My next jam session is next week. I have so many gigs next week, so I have jazz gigs next week. But it shouldn't affect the live stream. I don't have a gig on Thursday, so we'll do the live stream as normal. Can I trade in the Brax P3 for the new one? What's a Brax P3 for the new one? What is a Brax P3? Do you mean Pixel 3? No. No Google Pilot to show the way. Oh, how terrible. You're going to get lost. Oh, that's terrible. You can't find directions. Oh, I need my Google Maps and whatever to find my directions. I can't figure it out. They do sell Garmin. You can put a standalone Garmin unit on your car. You can do that. It's not like there's no solution. So, yeah. So anyway, that's we're running out of time here. But do you still recommend Startpage as a go-to search engine? Yes, because what choice do you have? You want to use DuckDuckGo? Do you want your data to be filtered and censored? If you so, then use DuckDuckGo. If that's what you want. You want DuckDuckGo to influence your search just like Google does? With a Google profile? Yes, then you can do that. Now, Startpage uses Google data. However, because Startpage does not have identification, it's a proxy, it's a search proxy. So Startpage uses Google data, but it doesn't know who you are because Startpage basically is a proxy for you. So everyone sends their search over to Startpage. Startpage searches for you, returns the results. So they don't know who you are. They don't have a profile. You are not mapped in a grid. Your data is not assigned to your Google ID. Startpage does not have the Google ID, so they can't do that. So that's exactly what the benefit of Startpage is, because you can't, for Google censorship to work on search, they need your ID. And without the ID, the search results are actually pretty good. So Startpage is not doing well. Actually, Startpage started doing well because DuckDuckGo started to screw up. So before, DuckDuckGo was very powerful. And they lost a lot of business. So Startpage, I'm sure, gained a lot of business. And they're small companies, so that's big deal for them. Can I trade my Pixel 3 for the new Brax phone? Bob, no, I don't think I can do that. I don't even have any Pixel 3s for sale. Let's see, down to 6 minutes here. Which browsers can be on your phone? Your phone can have, Brave, can have Chromium. There's some other browsers you can put in. Some that I'm not I can't remember from the top of my head. And but Brave and Chromium and DuckDuckGo are three that you can put on a phone, on a Android phone. And then on Apple, obviously, you can add Safari to that list. So yeah, DuckDuckGo is fine for privacy. DuckDuckGo is fine for privacy, but it's a problem because they censor. So do you still get all your photos of Google Drive? Why would you ever need to use Google Drive? Why? On a Google phone, you can use an app called SyncThing, and it will download automatically to your phone. You don't even have to do anything. It could be automatic every day. You come home and your phone syncs and transfers all your photos to your computer, which can transfer it to some hard drive somewhere. And the app, I have a video on it called SyncThing. It makes it very, very easy. Okay, or you can manually transfer it too. You can, connect your phone to a computer with a USB card and just copy the files over. Either way. Can you not put Google apps like YouTube on the Google phone? You cannot put Google apps on a Google phone. It won't run. The only ones that run are Waze, because Waze doesn't actually have any Google code in there. It actually runs independently. And the other one that will run is Google Authenticator, because again, it's open source, doesn't have any Google code in there. So those are two examples. Somebody said Google Maps might work. I haven't found that to be true, maybe in a browser, but somebody said that. I have no verification of that. But in general, you can't run YouTube or Gmail or anything like that. That's not going to run. Yeah, I'm using SyncThing on a Google phone. I'm using it on my phone. My phone is synced to my computer. My phones, plural, are synced to my computer using SyncThing. It works on pretty much all platforms. I want my photos of Google Drive. You want your photos of Google Drive? Then go download it from Google Drive and transfer it elsewhere. Why would you want to use Google Drive? You need to watch my Google video, Google ID video. Do you want to tether your life to Google? That was a video from last week. Watch that. That answers that. What is the best Google phone you sell? Obviously, Brax 2 USA, brand new. Brax 2 USA just arrived 2 days ago. So Brax 2 USA has the Brax 2 second version 2, and the difference is that this version has the band 4, which was missing from the original one. So it should work with Verizon because that was the only missing band 4. So we took out band 3, which is not used in the US, it's used internationally, and replaced it with band 4. So that's the US version. So any US carrier will use typically the channels like 2, 5, and so on. And before they were not able to use 4, now they can. Brax 2 USA is $420 plus shipping. So Brax 2 Privacy Phone USA, it will be with band 4 added. Yes, thank you, Great Gold. Yeah, so surprised me. I thought I thought the sales would be at the normal volume. When I didn't even announce Brax 2 yet. I just made a post on Brax Me, and a bunch of people were apparently waiting for Brax 2 USA. And when I announced it, they went for it. I have the old version that does not have band 4, and that's cheaper. That's $389. So if you want the cheaper version because you don't care about band 4, that's $389. Bob Smith, no, I do not. I told you I don't sell Pixel 3, so I can't even take it. Besides, they're not the same price. Are the Brax 2 phones still Available without the registered IMEIs? Yes, but you have to tell us in advance because we flashed them all with new IMEIs. So the IMEI in the box is not what we use. We actually flash a different IMEI to it. So you're able to flash the old IMEI back if you want. You know, I make the code available so you can flash it yourself. But all you have to do is warn us and say you want the unflashed version, original IMEI, if you want. So yeah, so that is available. You can do that. Just let us know. By default, we will flash the IMEI to a phone supported by all the carriers. Okay, thank you very much, guys. We're out of time. So can you just buy the Google phone, insert my AT&T, and good to go? Yes. Yes, that will work just fine. Just insert your current SIM card. The phone will be compatible, no issue. Okay, thank you very much, guys, for watching. Extra viewers here on YouTube, appreciate it. Thank you for being a member. And don't forget to watch next week's video. It's going to be exciting because I'm going to be ranting. It's going to be a rant. It's going to be a rant. Thank you, guys, and see you later. Bye-bye.